So, it's September, it's National Chicken Month, and we have an awesome Hey Dan to share with you. Hey Dan, how long does it take a chicken to produce one of these fantastic eggs? And what's the process the chicken goes through? Well, I can answer that question for you. It takes a chicken about 25 hours to produce one of these amazing things. It's like nature's NutriBullet, full of all the vitamins and minerals and amino acids, packed full of protein and only 70 calories. This thing is flipping awesome, I tell you. So, how does a chicken produce one? It all starts up in the ovary of the birds. This is a bit like an apple tree in an orchard. If you imagine the branches with lots of different apples at different sizes growing on the branches, when the apple gets to the right size, it falls off the tree and lands on the floor. Well, the very similar thing is happening up in the ovary of the birds. The yolks are all different sizes, all growing at different rates. When the yolk gets to the right size, it falls from the ovaries, but it doesn't fall on the floor. No, there's a special organ inside the chicken shaped like a funnel. It has a fantastic name that sounds a little bit like a Harry Potter spell. It's called the infundibulum. It's fantastic, isn't it? The yolk falls in the infundibulum. It takes about 15 minutes for the yolk to pass through the infundibulum before it arrives in the next process. This is a place called the magnum. Now we're going to take a closer look at the egg, and I can explain a little bit more about some of the features and how those things appear. If we take a closer look down here at the yolk, you can see just off the yolk, there's this darker white piece. Now this is called the chelace. This piece is there to ensure that the yolk is kept firmly in place in the middle of the thick white. Now, in the magnum, this is where it all happens. The yolk passes into the magnum, and this thick white is secreted to protect the yolk from bashes and bumps. The magnum is also shaped a little bit like the barrel of a gun. So as the yolk and the thick white pass through, it spins. And in its spinning process, it creates the chelace, which, like I say, is there purely to hold the yolk firmly in position in the middle of the thick white. Now, once that has happened, it takes about 2 hours, the yolk and the thick white pass into the isthmus. Now this is where the skin or membrane, this horrible bit just inside the shell, is applied around it. Now it acts a bit like a bag, and the chicken puts it round. Once she's put it round there, it's all a bit wrinkly. It's a bit like an old prune. So it needs to be plumped up, and that's the next process. So once the egg has been through the isthmus, it passes into the uterus. And in the uterus, that bag that currently looks a bit like a prune is plumped up to the egg shape that we all know, this shape. So how does that happen? Well, through the process of osmosis, which is the movement of a liquid from a positive pressure to a negative pressure, that bag is filled up, a bit like pumping air into a football until it's nice and firm. And then that bag is shaped more like an egg. It then contains the yolk, the thick albumin and white, and the thin white that's more watery. That's what pumps it up. We then have a nice plump egg-shaped bag with all the good stuff inside. Now, so far, it's taken the chicken about 6 hours to get to this point. So, 25 hours, 6 hours, there's about 19 left. And she spends all that time producing this, the shell, the hard bit, the bit that protects everything inside. And this is magic. She takes that plump egg and she starts to spin it inside her, around and around and around and around. And as she spins it around and around and around, she lays down layer after layer after layer after layer of calcium, which is what the shell is made of. And she does that for hours and hours and hours and hours. Spin, spin, spin. And slowly but surely she layers after layer of calcium until she has this fantastic hard shell on the outside of the egg. Now, a chicken will always lay its egg first thing in the morning when it wakes up. Goes and looks for a little quiet spot and lays her egg. So, all that spinning process to produce that amazing smooth shell that we have here is done overnight while the chicken's asleep. So you must never, ever, ever creep into a chicken house in the middle of the night. Creep up behind a chicken and go, boom! Because the poor chicken will freak out and the egg won't spin like this, it'll spin like this, and it'll spin like this, and round like this, and up and down like that. And the following morning when she comes to lay her egg, it won't be beautiful like that. It'll have lumps and bumps and funny shapes all over it because she's got scared and stopped that lovely spinning process, got all confused. So promise me, you never go into a chicken house in the middle of the night and scare a chicken. Obviously, the final process is laying, and out pops a beautiful egg. And then that egg is collected by the farmer, sent to the stores, and you can go and buy them fresh from the store and enjoy them every morning for your breakfast, for your lunch, and for your dinner. Eat more eggs, obviously. But think about it. Next time you sit down to breakfast, you've boiled your nice hard-boiled egg, and you take your spoon and you bash it on the top and cut the top off to enjoy the good bits inside. Just think to yourself, hey, that chicken took about 18 to 19 hours to produce that fantastic shell, and we don't even eat it. We throw it away. It's National Chicken Month. A big thumbs up to the chicken. Thanks to Potter's Poultry for supporting the poultry industry here in the USA. And thanks for the Hey Dan. Keep them coming in. We're loving it.